The beginning of the film is the end of the last murder of Dutch couple. Then in Tuscany, Italy, they look for the next prey. Finally, they find a Danish family with the exact conditions they wanted. They approach this Danish family gradually. Patrick is very good at playing the role of a pleasant, nice person who can communicate with other people very easily. He makes an empty praise of the Danish women's vegetarianism and the Danish man's heroic action to find the doll of her daughter. From Björn's eyes, you can tell that he likes Patrick very much because Patrick is exactly the opposite of who Björn is. Patrick seems to be completely himself and he doesn't care what people think about what he does, what he eats, how much he drinks, and when and how he looks at different people or even stares. Patrick doesn't care about rules, social issues, or what is right or wrong. And Björn admires such a character because he considers himself one of those boring people that couldn't become what they wanted. They spend a good time together in Tuscany, and after a short time, the Dutch couple invites the Danish family, Björn, Louise, and Agnes, to their home. Björn is eager for this trip from the beginning, but his wife, Louise, is a little bit skeptical, but finally agrees. Since the Dutch couple know what's going to happen to this family, they see themselves in a position of power from the very beginning. They are comfortable, weird, and aggressive. Patrick, contrary to his praise last time, makes fun of Louise being a vegetarian because she eats fish and forces her to eat pork. Karen, Patrick's wife, invites the Danish couple to dinner. They order whatever they want, drink alcohol, but in the end, Björn has to pay for it. Patrick, in addition to his crazy dancing, he drives like crazy and listens to music in an ear-splitting volume. All this makes Louise feel insecure and afraid and puts the Danish couple in an awkward situation. At night, while Louise is taking a shower, Patrick walks into the bathroom and brushes his teeth for a long time and in a strange way. Then stares at the Danish couple through the window while they're having an intercourse. The last thing the Dutch couple do, which makes Louise unable to tolerate their behavior anymore, is sleeping with Agnes while they're naked. They leave the house and to some extent the audience mind is relieved. But due to carelessness, they have to return. And from the moment they return, we see a completely different version of the Dutch couple. A similar behavior when they were in Tuscany. They don't want their prey to run away prematurely or cause them trouble. So they proceed a little more slowly and gently according to their prey's wishes. They distance from being themselves and become like other people, which means they behave according to the wishes of the people in front of them and not the way they want. As a result of this change, the Danish couple will stay as the Dutch couple wish until the second and more crazy part of the movie begins. On this day, the women work on the garden and the men go on a short trip to relieve themselves mentally and release their wild and animal nature. Maybe Patrick wants to show Björn in advance part of the reason for doing what he's going to do. When Louise cuts her hand, everything falls apart again because it becomes clear that Patrick lied about his job, which is being a doctor. And he's actually unemployed and doesn't believe in working at all. Karen tells Agnes to set the table, and at the table, she keeps telling her what to do or what not to do. It seems that she's preparing Agnes to replace Abel. Everything gets worse when the kids prepare a dance. Abel doesn't dance very well, and this is where Patrick's aggressive behavior and blaming towards Abel starts again. It's as if Patrick is taking out the anger, the rage he has from himself because the first escape of this Danish family and this child who is not even his own child. This scene is really scary and sad and makes us feel insecure, uncomfortable, and have sympathy with this child. Bjorn finally supports Abel and stops being passive, but because of his emotionality, he almost cries like his daughter Agnes. Louis has a nervous breakdown, and Karen is made of stone. He still doesn't react. The acting and directing is very accurate. They create the right atmosphere that the scene needs, and there is no exaggeration. The TV volume is too loud. Abel is moaning. The faucet is running. In short, there are too many noises in the middle of the night. The sound of TV and the water faucet are a cover for the murder of Abel, so that after the death of Danish couple, Agnes can take the place of this boy. Patrick probably forgot to close the door of warehouse after putting Abel's things in the warehouse and killing him. This negligence causes Bjorn, who gets up from the noise, to enter the warehouse and sees the suitcases and the photos of other families and finds out the pattern of killing them and taking their child. Bjorn wakes up his family in the middle of the night, but he doesn't tell them why he's in such a hurry to pack their things and leave this house. The car runs out of gas and Bjorn goes to look for it. When he returns, his wife and child aren't there. Soon Patrick comes after him and says, "Thank you for calling for help." The Dutch couple told Agnes and Louis that Bjorn called for help, so they get into Patrick's car without any resistance. It's true that Bjorn is shocked and scared, but this level of inaction and doing nothing is unacceptable, especially when Patrick stops for taking a leak and puts the keys on the car. He had to do something to save himself and his family. The fact that they're going to their own slaughter place without any resistance is the saddest part of the story and makes the audience suffer and give us goosebumps. The calmness and confidence of the Dutch couple about what they're doing is even creepier. At first it may seem that Bjorn's failure to do anything is a script problem, but the fact is that we saw the creation of such a character throughout the film. The most impressive thing he did was to support Abel verbally and yelling when Patrick gave him safe space and permission. From the first time he saw Patrick, Bjorn saw himself in a smaller and weaker position. He has the survival instinct, but he doesn't consider himself capable of survival. It's as if he accepted the elimination of himself and his family by the stronger entity. On the other hand, despite of how much you're afraid of this powerful being and what's happening to you is shocking and scary, the fact is that many times we ourselves allow lots of horrible things happen to us because we take away our free will and don't forget that it's easy to do nothing and wait for everything to end. And in the end, we call it fate, evolution, or anything else we want. The calmness of this Dutch couple, the normality of what's going to happen, the simplicity of what they're going to do to them, which is cut out the child's tongue, is really crazy to watch. This act is like pruning the garden or brushing teeth or any other daily activities for them. We don't see the slightest feeling in them while doing it. After taking the child, it seems like nothing is left of the parents. The father who is shocked by his own weakness and inability, and the mother who's shouting and punching, don't heal their pain anymore. They accept their own death because when you lose a child like that, you don't care about your life anymore. The Danish couple got out of the car, but the fact is they didn't see any weapon in front of them. They could try to escape. Maybe the presence of two non-monsters made of stone is more frightening and deadly for them than any weapon, especially after what they've been through. Why are you doing this? Because he lets me. This dialogue is strange, but it's the truth of the story of the Danish family. They accept the invitation of the Dutch couple, they drove there, they spent time with them, they returned after the first escape. They got into Patrick's car easily after the second escape and didn't do anything to escape along the way. They themselves stand in front of them and do what they're ordered to do. They remind us of self-sacrificing for the will of a superior supernatural being or the gods of different religions without any rational reason. The only way out of their minds from the pain they were suffering, their only form of healing when they are waiting for their painful death, is the remain of their love in each other's arms. Because of the form of tragedy that we watched, unfortunately by stoning, plus good acting, and overhead camera that approached them with a great soundtrack at the time of their death, when they are in each other's arms, we can experience catharsis. When an extremely disturbing and terrible event, death or murder happens on the stage of theater or cinema screen, we watch it because we are not present in that event and we are only witness it. We first feel sympathy and identification with the people in that event, and then we think it's true that we weren't in that event, in the story, but it could have happened to us. It's like somehow we escape from a death. This issue, along with the feeling of pity, identification, and sympathy with the characters of the tragedy, cause a deep emotional distortion in us, which is called catharsis. Catharsis happens when we have a good story, a tragedy, we see good performance from the actors, and finally the direction in the theater, especially in cinema, can be very effective in experiencing or not experiencing catharsis. Because a good script can be ruined very easily with the wrong acting and directing. From the decoupage the director does the rhythm and tempo, he creates the guidance of the actors, the use of color and music to create the atmosphere, and finally the form of the film. The director can greatly increase the impact of the film or theater, and from an ordinary sad story reach a lasting tragedy, so we can experience catharsis.